First, though, we catch up with Lord David Lipsey, BGRB Chairman, as he visits the kennels of Wimbledon trainer John Simpson, who looks after his bitch Tooting Becky. The dog's cameras were here to ask David for his views on the current state of greyhound racing. But first, how was Tooting Becky getting on?
She's getting on very well. She needs marathon trips now, and she's mostly going to be running over those, so they slip in the odd 668 at Wimbledon. Trouble with the poor girl is that she's too consistent, so she keeps on running second but never getting a downgrade out of the grader. If you're watching grader, please could you give us a break?
And you've been involved in greyhound ownership for a long time now?
Yes, it's probably getting on for 30 years since I had my first one, my beloved Park Laddie, who is another good dog, and I've been lucky with the ones I've had.
And you've involved quite a few of your friends at the house in greyhound ownership?
Well, there are not a lot of people in the Lords who own greyhounds, so there are plenty of people who are interested. Alan Meal MP is a co-owner of Tooting Becky, along with Peter Jones and Roger Easterby of the Tote, so we've got a nice little team there.
Now let's look back at the year that's just gone, 2006. Plenty of ups and downs. Let's talk about the ups first for Westmead Hawk Second Derby.
Westmead Hawk Second Derby was absolutely wonderful. Of course, what happened afterwards was very sad, but there are a lot of us would give a lot to see him back on the track, and fingers crossed, so far so good.
And that sort of story is what the sport needs, a sort of another super dog.
Westmead Hawk was the first real candidate for that since Ballyregan Bob and Skirlow Champ back in the 80s, and we do need a superhero, yes. Should
he come back to a track come what may?
No, not come what may. He should only come back if he's going to be the same dog as he was before. But I'm quite sure that Nick Saver and Bob Morton will make sure that he doesn't come back unless they're satisfied that he's as good as ever.
And they've got a few more in the can anyway, haven't they, those guys?
Well, there seems to be a new Westmead every week, and the more of them we see, the better.
So that was the good news of 2006. The bad news, of course, the CM investigations.
Well, on the face of things, it was pure bad news. Of course, it did damage the sport's reputation. I think it was an extremely untypical event, but nevertheless, the impact of being on the page one of the Sunday Times with those photographs can't be denied. However, I'm maybe just an eternal optimist. I think good will come out of the bad of CM, because I think it's made us all very aware that we rely on public sport to keep this sport thriving, that we will only get public sport if our welfare record is whiter than white, and that we must do whatever is necessary to make it such. There's been a huge amount of progress since CM, and I think by the middle of 2007 we should be in a very, very much more defensible welfare position.
They've been quoted in saying that 2007 might be one of the most important years in the sport's history. Why is that?
I'd go beyond that. It's make or break year. If we get welfare wrong and we get imposed regulation, I believe that will lead to the very rapid shrinkage of greyhound racing, and that will be distressing. There's also a tremendous challenge in the form of the Gambling Act. Now that's got great opportunities for greyhound racing, because punters for the first time from off-course will be able to bet into on-course pools, and that could be a huge money earner for the sport. At the same time, betting shops are going to be open in the evenings in winter. There's going to be the cost of the new regulation of gambling premises under the Act, and that we've got to make sure it doesn't get out of control. So that's another sense in which it's make or break. We've not only got to get the government doing the right things for us, we've also got to get the Gambling Commission doing the right things. That'll be one of my tasks in the year ahead.
Vision 2010, a BGRB initiative launched at the end of 2004, sought to identify the best ways of promoting the sport, and encouraging tracks to improve their facilities was top of the agenda.
Well, I think they've made a good beginning, and it's very noticeable that there's a huge rush of new investment in tracks coming at the end of the year. I opened Yarmouth in December, which is a great new facility for which we wish all the best. What has been difficult, however, is that particularly the World Cup during the summer hit attendances very hard, and it is going to be very hard to get companies to invest in greyhound racing if they see attendances at the gate going down. The way around that one is to put more money into marketing, to sell the sport, to get the bums on seats in the language, and then the bums on seats will encourage the investment, which will get still more bums on seats, the virtuous circle. And certainly in the budget being prepared for BGRB for next year, there will be a good deal more money spent on marketing. The pilots we've done have been pretty successful.
The BGRB A Night at the Dogs campaign generated significant interest through its national television exposure, which certainly boosted the tracks on their feature nights and Saturday evenings. But how does Lord Lipsey see the future of greyhound racing as we enter 2007?
I think, if I'm honest about it, it's precariously poised. As I said earlier, we have lots of good opportunities. In many ways, standards are improving. Welfare standards for greyhounds are improving hugely, and in many cases, stadiums are improving. We're providing much better meals, much better entertainment. And when I see these parties of young girls you see now at greyhound tracks having the time of their lives, we're being very successful in that. At the same time, you've got the old audiences declining, the hardcore cloth-cut punter audience, and we've got to replace that. And most of all, I think there is a slight psychology of decline in this industry, because greyhound racing has been on the decline ever since the late 40s as a result of the growth of the betting shops and other opportunities to have a bet. We're in a very competitive leisure market, and it's a question of moving people from a defensive attitude to a, yes, let's go out, we can do it. I think we'll achieve that, but it's in our own hands.
Lord Lipsey looking to boost the morale of his troops and find the positives for the forthcoming years. So what would be on David's wish list for 2007?
I'd like to see attendances up. I'd like to see turnover in the betting shops either stabilising or going up. I'd like to see large amounts of money starting to be bet into pools from off course. And most of all, I'd like to see the excitement and thrills that greyhound racing has to offer being reflected in mainstream media, so it's not the bad news stories that we read all the time, it's the good news stories.